Okay, welcome back. You've been listening to Vinny Correa and Lenny Agressi playing the guitars for us. Welcome, Vince and Marty. Good morning.
Good morning, Angela. How are you?
Tell us about Jazzkat. How, and why did you get started?
Well, actually, Jazzkat, we started about 6 years ago. It was a crazy idea I had, and I've played guitar on and off for a lot of years. And I was actually helping a friend of mine out who actually worked for another amp company. So I was, he asked me to deliver an amp to an artist up in New York who was recording at the time. His name is John Pizzarelli. So I brought the amp up there. I met John, very nice fella. We were talking back and forth, and we got to talking about amplifiers, and he just said off the top of his head, you know, boy, if I could just find a real nice, lightweight, small amplifier, he said, I'd love to have something like that. That's something a lot of musicians ask for, because typically amps today they're big, they're huge,
big and heavy.
They're big and heavy. They weigh 80 pounds, 100 pounds, and once you get past 23 years old, that's a lot of weight to carry around. You know, and they have to have carts to pull them or other people to pull them. You know, it gets to be
But don't they? You know, and like I go to a lot of concerts and things. Don't these kids just love that stuff?
They do.
Oh, yeah. A 50-pound amp.
Oh,
and it's they need a truck to deliver it. And so it's all part of the mystique of being in these bands.
Absolutely.
Now. I mean, your music genre is just a little different than these you know, the rock and roll or heavy metal and things like that. But it's still it's all part of the scene, so
absolutely.
to speak. That these kids they just like that, and everybody, oh wow, look at that, see that amp.
The bigger the better.
Yeah,
you know, they love. Matter of fact, sometimes the amps are bigger than the people who are playing them.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
It's like you said, kind of a status kind of thing. So,
exactly.
But we went the other way. So after talking with him, I had an idea. Well, maybe I could do this. Now, Marty and I actually grew up a couple of blocks from each other in Lodi, New Jersey.
Okay.
And
you're supposed to be only local guys, so I may have to ask Marty to leave pretty soon, because you're from where?
Lodi.
Okay, you're going to have to ask her to leave the show. It's only for local guys, right, Rick?
I live down here now.
Okay, all right.
I had him move down here just so he can be on the show.
Be on the show today.
Yeah, otherwise
this way he qualifies.
That's right. Otherwise, out he goes. But Marty and I lived in Lodi. You know, we grew up in Lodi. We in maybe 2-3 blocks from each other. But then in the 70s, he went one way and I went another way, and I hadn't seen Marty in what, 30 years? 30-something years. Didn't even know if he was still alive. And Marty...
He may not be.
That's true. Still not alive, I don't know. But he was always... he's the engineer. He was in the Navy. He'll tell you his own story, but, you know, he learned electronics there, went to school, worked in TV shows.
Are you a guitar player also?
No, I'm strictly electronics.
Okay.
Yeah, he plays the radio.
Okay.
As much as he can.
Ham radio.
I do the jokes.
Sorry. So he went his way, I went my way, didn't know where he was, had no clue. He could have been in California at this point. I had no idea. So thanks for the internet, I started looking up on the internet, and I found, his last name is Abbate, so I found like 5 or 6 Abbates, and one of them in Lodi. So I figured, well, let me give it a shot. And I called, and it was his mother. And I said...
She was building amps.
She was building amps. I said, can I get in this? She was making spaghetti. And I said,
today, you know, I got to tell the audience, you know, we got Vince Giardini, we got Marty Abbate, we got Lenny Agressi, we got Vinny Correa, Angelo Savarino. Our engineer is Rick Delisandro. This is like Appalachia meeting. I expect the FBI to raid us any minute.
We're going to play cards after this.
Okay.
We got the FBI.
Drink a little demi-tasse. We'll be all set.
We're conspiring to perform entertainment.
Okay. And so far, we haven't been successful. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So
these things just come to my mind.
That's good. Yeah. So I asked his mother. I said, "Is Marty around? Who's this?" I said,
"Who's Marty or who are you?"
Well, I don't know. I wasn't sure at that point. Okay. So I said, "Well, this is Vince. This is a friend of his. I grew up with him." She almost was. It sounded like she was afraid the FBI was calling or something.
Probably
so
was.
And I didn't know what was going on there. So I said, "Well, this is a friend of his. And from Lodi, I said, I'm just trying to get in touch with him. Why, is there anything wrong? No. It was just, I haven't seen him.
Your mother didn't remember him from your childhood, eh? I guess he was never invited over to your house or anything?
Of course he was.
No. I mean, I would think your mother would say, "Oh, Vince, so nice to hear from you." You know,
30 years went by. It's a long time.
So what?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't that memorable back then.
Okay, you're not memorable now.
Oh, thank you.
Feel
so loved.
Come on, tell the story.
So anyway, finally she says, "Well, I'll call him. Do you have a number that I can give him to get back in touch with you?"
Right.
I said, "Sure, I'll give you my number." So I did, and I don't know when it was. Maybe a few days went by. All of a sudden, I get a phone call, and I hear this guy on the other line. He goes, "Vinny?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Who's this?" He said, "Marty." I said, "Marty who?" Because I forgot even, And
why'd you call him in the first place?
So he said, "Marty, your friend Abbate from Lodi."
Okay.
I said, "Oh my gosh!" So I said,
So you told him your story.
I told him
what
the
you were
story.
trying to do. Who
I
you
said,
met
"Where
with,
are you?" He says, "I'm living in Howell." He's living 15 minutes from my
Right, 'cause
house.
you live in Tom's River.
I live in Tom's River. So you talk about when something should be somewhat of a fate.
Right.
I mean, the fact that after 30 years, I had moved to South Carolina. I had moved back. I was originally from Lodi. I moved to South Carolina. I moved back to Tom's River. He was, in multitudes of places. And where do we all end up?
So you're on the lam.
15.
Yep.
Still is. Where we end up 15 minutes from each other's house.
Great. So you get together.
Call him up. I said, "Look,
Tell him your idea.
Tell him my idea.
What you're looking for.
I'm looking for a small
And
amp.
of course, he's the engineer,
Can we do it?"
and he doesn't play music, but has all the knowledge of engineering.
Yep.
So what happens?
We met in my laboratory, in my basement, in the ham shack, and I have all my electronic test equipment because I was repairing guitar amplifiers and restoring antique radios. I was involved with the Boy Scouts, teaching them electronics and electricity, merit badges. And Vince came down with a plan to build a lightweight amplifier. He came down with an amplifier that was this big and had 2 speakers in it and weighed like about 65 pounds. And he said, I said, what's
Which is
the
a
goal
normal
here?
weight and size, right?
It's typical, yeah.
What's the goal here? He said it has to be more than half the weight and more power and sound incredibly good. Can you do it? I said, of course I can. You know me from way back when, and I'm still involved with the electronics. So
you
built something, a prototype, I guess, and then you tested it and retested it. And
we took a year, about a year and a half, almost. Year and a half.
We built many prototypes, and then
you got a picture of one?
We had Vinny Correo, who was a master guitarist.
This is workshop work. You can see right there.
Can we get a shot of this, Rick? At all? What camera? This camera.
That's Marty on the bench, Marty on the floor.
And so you guys did a lot of drinking.
Well,
Never.
Good.
Okay. Great. Okay. That shot's done. All right.
We at several stages of development, we would bring our samples to Vinny Correo in Point Pleasant.
Okay.
And he would.
He's a great guitarist.
Great guitarist. He heard things that my electronic equipment could not pick up. He said, "This note here just doesn't sound right." I would bring the prototype back to the basement and we'd do
rework it.
some corrective surgery. What frequency is that note? Because I don't know music. So I would dial in the audio oscillators and tune it in and say, yes, there's a little hook on the sine wave. How did he hear that? And Vince is a guitar player. He could hear everything. And that's how it became.
So is it still in testing stage? Is it?
No, it's
marketed.
It's marketed, yes.
It's perfected.
And where is it being used now, and who's using them?
We
Tell some of your customers. Bruce Springsteen.
Who's Bruce Springsteen? We sell them throughout the United States and in Europe and Spain, Portugal. And